we are now going to talk about inheritance in Java. So when we talk about inheritance in real world, we're talking about inheriting something, some traits or something for someone, right? So you can say, I have inherited a house from my dad, or I have inherited a nose. The nose that I've inherited from my father, right? So we have that idea of inheritance in real life. Well, in Java, we have a similar thing where we can create a base class or a parent class and have a children class that would inherit or get all the traits from the parent class. So for instance, we can have create a class called animal class. So this animal class would have what? Would have a name as one of its attribute. It would have a number of legs, right? It would have food, so what type of food it eats, but it would also have behaviors. So we could say make noise as a behavior or function, eat or sleep, right? So we can then create other classes, subclasses or children classes, like a cat would be another class, but that we know a cat is a type of animal. So a cat could inherit from animal, right? Because we know that a cat, regardless of what kind of cat, should have a name, number of legs, and will eat some sort of food. Okay, the same thing we can do. We can create another class called lion, for instance, and this lion would have the same traits as animal: name, number of legs, food, make noise, eat, sleep. But it also, the lion or a cat, they could also have other traits in addition to the traits we have specified in our parent or superclass animal. So we can then add those traits into our cat or lion class. That way we are adding more to what a cat is or lion is. Same thing as us people, right? So we inherit our genetic material from our parents, but that doesn't mean that we are everything that our parents are. That's all we are. We have other things too of our own, right? I have my own name. I don't have my father's name per se, their first name. I may have their last name, but there's a way in which people can differentiate me and my father or me and my mother, right? But I have inherited everything from my parents. For instance, we can create another class called dog, as you can see here, and this dog will also inherit from animal. Okay, so that is one of the pillars we have in object-oriented programming, is the ability to create this hierarchy where we have a superclass, a parent class with all the attributes, with all the behaviors, and then we have the children classes that we can then use the children class to inherit all the traits that we have from our parent class. So let's go ahead and put all these into code so we can actually start seeing how these different pieces come together. Right, so I went ahead and created a new project. I named it animals. And of course, I went ahead and created also a package, and I have this animal test.java. Okay, you go ahead and do that as well. And so here we have our main, void main here, our entry point. Okay, so the idea here is to create this hierarchy that we talked about so that we can start implementing the inheritance in Java. Well, first thing we need to do, we need to create the animal class. So right click here and we're going to say class. Okay, we're going to call this animal. Okay, that's all. There we go. So as we said, our animal will have attributes, right? So the first one we're going to say private string name. That's our first attribute. And private int num legs, private string food. Okay, so those are our attributes that we have for our attributes or properties or instance variables. Okay, there's different names, but essentially those are just our attributes, behaviors here. So the first behavior we can say public void make noise. Okay, that's a system.out.println making noise, and we can go ahead and say public void eat. I've got the same here. Eating. Public void sleep. System that out, that print sleeping. Okay, very basic here. So we have our attributes and we have our behaviors. Okay, now with all the knowledge we have about constructors and getters and setters, let's go ahead and create some getters and setters for this one. Now, one of the things we can do, since we're using Eclipse as an IDE, we can go ahead and right click and we can go ahead and say here, we go to source and we can go and find where it says generate getters and setters. Okay, that's the beauty of having an IDE, because we can automatically generate our getters and setters for ourselves. Okay, so click like that and it allows you to choose which getters and setters to create. So we have to select the food, name, number of legs. Okay, and then we go ahead and say enter, and there we go. All of our getters and setters are created. You probably notice right now we have our get name, get num legs, and set num legs and all this stuff, right? But also you notice we have this keyword, food is equal to food. Well, what's this? So this refers to our class scopes, right? So when you say food, what are we always saying? We're saying animal.food. So animal class, and accessing the food property, food attribute. Should be 2 T's here. Okay, and the reason why it puts this is because if you notice here, for instance, in the set num legs, we have int num legs, which essentially is the same name as we have in our instance variable. So to avoid issues and complications at a later time, because as you know, we're not supposed to use the same variable name more than once, right, to assign things. So here what it's doing, we are now differentiating this num legs from our num legs that we have here at the top as an instance variable. Okay, so this int num legs here, if we had written here something else like number legs, then we could just change this, say num legs is equal to, and copy this and put it here. That way we know that we are taking whatever we are setting in our set num legs, this value here in num legs for our instance variable for the entire class. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And let's go back and change this. So these num legs, as you can see, they have different coloring. So this is num legs. This num legs has different color than the num legs. Okay, so that's what's happening here. So not to get confused. Okay, perfect. All right, good. So now that we have all setters and getters, we have our hierarchy, our animal class set. So now that we have our animal class set, right, we have created our animal class, let's create a cat class, which will get all of the properties and all of the methods and functions from our animal parent class here, right? What we can do now, we go back to our source, right click, say new class, and we're gonna say this cat. Okay, there we go. Now we have cat. So we have animal, we created, and I have cat. And you can see here inside of our package. Well, how do we express this inheritance between cat and animal? Well, we use this keyword called extends, right? Extends means inherits from what? From animal. Okay. The moment we do that, we're saying cat now has all of these properties, behaviors, and everything from our animal parent class, because now the animal is our parent class and the cat in itself is our child class. Just to prove to you that this is true, if we go to animal test where our main.java is, right, we can now create an instance of cat. Let's go and say cat is equal to new cat, right? Check this out. If I say cat and hit dot operator, you see, look what happens. We have eat, and it says here it's void and animal. That means it's of type animal, meaning that now cat, our object cat here, since we have inherited from animal, we're able to access all of these methods from our animal class. So you can see now the power here is that now we have a cat and we haven't even put anything inside of a cat. So we said cat extends animal. And voila, we go to our test here and go like this dot, and we have eat, we have get food, get name, get num, legs, make noise, set food, and all of this stuff that we've set in our animal, we are able to get from here. In fact, we can go ahead and say cat that set name. We can put and give it a name of Moz. Okay, we can say cat that set food. Say cat food of some sort. I don't know a lot of cat food. All right, and we can start setting. Well, let's say what else can we set? It's a cat that set number of legs. It's an integer, so we can say 4. That's a normal cat, right? And we can go ahead and say system that out that print. Right, we can say my cat is, and then go ahead and say cat that get name, right, and say cat that get food, right, and say cat that get legs, like that. If we run this, look what's going to happen. My cat is Moz, cat food, and 4. And yet we go here and nothing we have put in our cat class. All we had to do is just extend. Now, inside of our cat, if we want to differentiate our cat from anything else, a different cat from our animal parent, let's say we decided that this cat here, we can go ahead and say, well, for instance, our cat, when it makes noise, the kind of noise that it makes, it's different from any general animal. We can go ahead and create here, say, behavior override. All right, we can go ahead and say public void make noise. Okay. And when that happened, we can go ahead and say system.out.println, say per, something like that. So what are we saying? Now notice I said void make noise, and we have already this make noise that we created here, right? We have, let's say, where is this? Here's make noise here. So now what are we saying? We're saying, well, okay, I know that my father, my parent class animal, has a make noise. That's a very general, just makes noise. But I am a cat, so I want to make sure that whenever people create a replica of me as a cat, I want to always make sure that I make my own type of noise, which is purr. So now in our animal test here, if we go at the bottom here and say cat that make noise, look what's going to happen. Let's save and run. Look, it says purr instead of what it would have said if we said making noise, right? If we get rid of this, let's get rid of this. Let's comment this out and go back to our animal test. Cat make noise. Let's look at what's going to happen. Make sure, right? Because we comment this out. If we run again, it says making noise. Aha. So you see the power here? From a cat, even though we got everything from our animal, we decided that a cat has to make a different kind of noise. We create a different behavior, right? We said overriding our make noise. Now we have a purr, which is typical of a cat. So now we know that a cat is an animal, has all the attributes of a general animal, but there's something specific about a cat. A cat, when it makes noise, it does a different kind of noise. So the same thing, we can go ahead and create another class, call this lion, okay? And this lion is an animal, right? So we can say extends animal. meaning this line now has all the animal attributes. So now if we go back to animal test, if we go ahead here and create another instance of line, so we can go ahead and say lion is equal to new lion. Okay, if you go say lion dot, look, we still have eat, get food, and all this stuff. So we can go ahead and set up everything just like we did with our cat. So we can go ahead and say, so let's go ahead and say lion dot set name. We're gonna set it to be Simba. It's a powerful name. Say lion dot set food. Say meat. Okay. Lion dot set number of legs. We're gonna say 4. There we go. Now here we can go ahead and change this. Say my lion is, let's change this to lion. Everything to lion here because we want to see what a lion does or is. And save this and let's run. And we say my lion Simba meet 4. And we still seeing the purr because we are calling the cat version of make noise. Now if we go here and say lion, if we run this, we have making noise. Why? Because, well, a lion, we haven't done anything here. Now, if we want to change our behavior as well here, we can say public void make noise. Okay. System that out print ln. We can say roar. Let's run this one more time. Look what's going to happen. Roar. Because we have overridden. We said, well, I'm a lion. Although I'm an animal, I extend from animal. That means I take all of the animal characteristics, but I have my own characteristics, especially when I make noise. I do roar. So I hope you're starting to get the power of inheritance here. Generally speaking, an animal is just an abstract idea. Okay, now to make a concrete idea, we can then create the actual animals with characteristics that we are inheriting from an animal, right? In this case, we carry a cat, a lion. What you've just learned, what I've just shown you now, is the basics, one of the strongest, biggest pillar of what an object-oriented programming really means. We can create these hierarchies, right, of classes that inherit from other classes, and we can start creating this library of classes that support one another, get information, get characteristics from the parents and use them in children, and the children can override certain characteristics to be unique and so forth. All of that, that's what makes object-oriented programming such a powerful tool. And this, again, this hierarchy that we're talking about is exactly how the Java programming language was built upon. The whole Java programming library is composed of exactly what I just showed you here, which is this hierarchy of objects, of classes that inherit from other classes. And okay, so you've learned a lot in this video. I'll stop here, but go ahead and play around with this idea. And of course, as you can see here, you can put your own things here. If you want to add a different private, let's say private string color, right, you can do so. We can go ahead now and create a setter. So right click here, go to source, generate getters and setters, just for color. Okay, now we have a setter and getter for color. Okay, so now here, if we go here, we can say cat that set color purple. And we can, if we want it, we can go ahead and say here public void show cat. Okay, so we're gonna system everything out in one line instead of having to put everything in our test animal.test there. So we can say system.out.println. You can go ahead and then say, you can say cat profile colon. Then here we can say get color. Get food, get get what else? Number of legs and so forth. So if we save this, we need a something like that to end our method. So show cat now. So inside of here, we can go ahead and say, let's go ahead and comment this out. Say cat, that show cat, save. Look what's going to happen. Run. Look, cat profile, purple, cat, food, Moz 4. And we still have the lion make noise. We can go ahead and say cat make noise. Okay, and run again. We should see exactly what we've set up. See? So although that here, notice something interesting here, although in the cat class we only have one attribute here, color, but again, because the power of inheritance, we know that implicitly we have all of the animal's attributes, right? All of this inside of our cat. So now we're taking advantage of that, and we just get in color, which is all set here in our animal super class, parent class, get food, get name, number of legs, and so forth. You can do the same thing obviously with lion. In fact, I urge you to do that as an exercise. That way you can actually practice how to add more things into our classes that are inheriting from our parent class. All right. So I hope this wasn't too complicated for you, right? And so if for some reason if this concept is a little bit hazy, no worries, just go back and watch the video. And if you have any questions, of course, you're always welcome to ask. I just want you to start seeing how powerful object-oriented programming really is in Java, and how wonderful this is, because as we start creating bigger projects, this comes in very handily, because now you know exactly, as you can see to the left here, we have everything separated. We have the animal, which is parent class. We have cat, which is a different class but inherits from our animal. We have lion, we could have dog, and so forth. Okay, and all of those are separate entities that can work with everybody else, but they are their own entity. So a cat is its own class that can work on its own. So is a lion. Okay? All right, so I'll see you in the next video.